Hello again, I am Blunty. Now, Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon, we're getting them at the end of the year. What to expect? What is coming? Well, on April 3rd, footage is to be shown on Japanese TV, and I guess within 45 seconds of that happening, it'll be reposted, translated, interpreted, made assumptions about, trigger wild guesses, and inspire countless more fakes, hoaxes, and completely unfounded rumors everywhere else online, because that is the way of things on the internet when it comes to things like popular game franchises getting new editions or indeed new game consoles. Anyway, so instead of waffling on about what we think is coming or what we guess might be coming based on a couple of screenshots of a bit of a sketch we were shown in a video or something like that, or whatever some random D-bag on a forum somewhere claims he has super duper reliable source on, I want to talk about what I'd like to see in Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. Now, I doubt half the ideas I'm presenting here are new. In fact, I know for a fact many of them have been on the dedicated Pokemon fans want list for, well, a decade or more actually. In fact, every single time a new Pokemon game in the core RPG series is announced or even rumored, some of these get begged for every single time. But I'm afraid they always fall on the arrogantly deaf ears of Game Freak, the Pokemon Company, and Nintendo. Things like multiple save files so you can do multiple runs trying out new teams or new challenges without having to nuke your existing game into oblivion anytime you want to try something new. Or indeed buy a second copy of the game, which is what they really want you to do. How about new starter types? We've always wanted new starter types. We've had 2 decades of grass and fire and water starters, and yes, a few types have been dual types, which was exciting at the time, but how about a much fresher start? Some steel type or psychic type or fairy type starters, something, anything. Personally, I kind of like the idea of starting out with an Eevee, and then a few hours into the story you have to make a choice about which evolution type you're going to go for, because there's, what, 7 or 8 of those by now? I forget how many, but lots of choices there. Plus, any true Pokemon fan always loves a good argument about which is the best evolution. Also, people have been asking for specific difficulty settings for as long as I can remember. The newer games are so much easier than the original games for many different reasons, a fact recently brought into sharp focus with the re-release of the 3DS Virtual Console of those original 3 games. And for those of us who have been playing since day one, the ability to just shift the challenge up a bit would be very welcome. And it wouldn't even need any significant redesign of the game mechanics, just make all the attacks do a set percentage more damage, or make critical hits a bit more common, or make healing items a bit less effective, or restrict the use of any buff items except perhaps held items during battle. There are lots of ways to just poke up the difficulty without breaking the actual mechanics of the game. Everyone always likes the idea of having the lead Pokemon being able to follow you around in the overworld like it did in Pokemon Yellow and Diamond and Pearl and Platinum and Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but not some of the games in between and not the games afterwards for some bizarre reason. It's a cute feature. I want to see it. I want my favourite Pokemon wandering behind me as I go through the world. And of course, as always, a fully customizable character, like in a proper open RPG, is on the want list forever and ever and ever. And I'm not talking just about hats and shirts and bags, but full-on model customizability. Height, weight, skin, hairstyle, glasses, beards, the whole magoo. And I guess although it may look a bit weird in the Pokemon art style, how about letting us use our Miis in the game as our character? Or at least base our trainer character after the main aesthetic traits of our Mii. But that's all the common stuff we get people asking for with every generation for years and years and years now. Speaking personally, I'm going to tell you what I'd love to see happen. Stuff like a more open-ended story structure. Say, for example, more like things in Fallout 4, where you can build and indeed break allegiances with various competing factions. Within the lore of Pokemon, perhaps you could actually belong to a certain gym, or a goal-oriented organization like Team Rocket or Team Aqua and such. And perhaps doing so gives you certain perks, like unique buff items, unique quests, or access to berry farms, or unlimited Moo Moo Milk, or special fast travel tunnels or something. There are lots of different perk options you could possibly have by signing up to a specific gym or organization and such. And basically, the core story structure of a kid gets a Pokemon, walks around collecting more Pokemon on a predefined path going more or less in a certain order, does gyms, beats the champion and stuff, and saves the world, it all needs a huge reboot. We've had 2 decades of basically the identical story. I mean, yes, there's been a few tweaks here and there, and it's not quite identical, but it is, it's the same skeleton they keep building on. And it's just not exciting anymore. It's just what we kind of have to do so we can get through the game and unlock all the stuff and things and collect all the Pokemon and blah 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 blah. We need more nuanced and alternate storylines. We need ongoing generated quests where NPCs and whatever organization or gym you happen to be aligned with will constantly have more and more little adventures and quests for you to go on. Maybe you'll be tasked with capturing a particular Pokemon or breeding a pair to create a hatchling with a particular egg move. Maybe you're asked to go through a dungeon using only one type of Pokemon or a particular loaned Pokemon for some reason. Maybe you even have to level up and evolve a Pokemon for an NPC. Maybe even the standard fetch quests, but please not escort missions. I hate escort missions. There are so many existing RPG standards and tropes and quest options that can be so easily folded into the Pokemon games and lore, it bewilders me that it hasn't been done yet. And aside from giving us more stuff to do during the main game, we need more post-game content like that. Right now, after you finish the main storyline, there's nothing really left. Maybe a few unfinished NPC conversations you skipped along the way, or maybe there's a few in-game trades you didn't do. But for the most part, the post-game is, and always has been, almost exclusively just wandering around catching more Pokemon. Either to complete the decks, or just to breed up competitive teams for person-to-person matches, or like me, tons of shiny hunting. I mean, yes, you've got the battle tower and stuff, but that's just more battle and battle and battle. That's not very interesting. It's just kind of mechanical. But to have ongoing generated quests, man, that would add so much more things to do once you're done being the hero of the region. And perhaps we could even have randomized or procedurally generated dungeons. Imagine a mystic cave that changes its layout and indeed roster of catchable Pokemon inside every time you went in. And maybe there's a MacGuffin of some kind buried inside somewhere that you have to find before the cave will reset to a new format and layout. And then there's stuff like online battling. It has been made pretty much solid at this point, as has the online trading with things like the GTC and Wonder Trade. I love them. They're fantastic. They work so well. I mean, they're a bit sluggish, but they work so well. But what about online co-op, for example? Wouldn't that be interesting? Going through a dungeon of double matches with a real-life partner instead of an NPC, as we've had a couple of times briefly in a couple of other games. But mostly what I want, above all other concerns, is that Fallout 4 style, and yes, I know Fallout 4 neither invented nor perfected such systems, it's just a recent super popular RPG that's easy to make a reference to, but the Fallout 4 style ongoing generated side quests and faction allegiances that, while they don't really change the end game result in any meaningful way, do at least provide a few interesting paths to get there, and you can pick them depending on your own personal playstyle and how deeply you're actually role-playing your character. And of course, we can't possibly end this video without asking once more for a properly open world. Like GTA 5 here, or indeed Fallout 4, I want the ability to just wander around and explore a nice big map with lots of nifty little secrets and Easter eggs and unexpected items and side quests and mini dungeons. I want to be able to see Pokemon existing in the environment and also have hidden Pokemon leap out at me from behind trees or bushes and stuff for random battles. I want to be able to see a Pikachu grazing berries on a hillside and then have to sneak up to it quietly to engage it in battle, not scare it away. Or even if I sneak right up to it successfully, just throw a Pokeball at it at full health and hope it catches. Wouldn't that be so much more thrilling than just wandering back and forth in a patch of grass waiting for your next random encounter? Wouldn't that make hunting for a Pokemon just so much more thrilling and interesting and exciting and challenging and wonderful? And you know what? I want to be able to own a car or a motorcycle or a mountable Pokemon to gallop around the world in. I mean, we've had running shoes and bikes and roller skates and all that kind of stuff to make traveling around a little bit quicker, and we've had the briefest of teasers of rideable Pokemon in a couple of games, and we've even had a taste of freely piloted overworld flight, which is awesome, by the way, but it's time for ground mobility in a serious way to change. Now, I sadly doubt Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon will even come close to delivering on my hopes, but I am permitted to dream, aren't I? So, what are your hopes and dreams for Sun and Moon? What do you hope gets revealed on the Japanese TV show in a fistful of days? And what do you most want to see in the new games? I've got a funny feeling a lot of you out there will agree with me in what I want. Vote Blunty for President of Game Freak. I'll make this shiz happen. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and I will catch you next time.